Hey everyone, it's Patch 3.20 for Acropolis, and today I want to bring you a farming strategy that I did not expect to be this good. Over the past few weeks, I've noticed that people are really struggling to make money with all the new changes to Scarabs and all the new changes to farming strategies. What I wanted to do was to put together a strategy that is so simple to do that it literally boils down to walk through the map, pick up the loot, and go to the next map. Well, I would say that I managed to accomplish that with corpse farming. This is going to be a strategy that's going to be revolved around just simply walking through the map, clicking on all the free loot that's on the ground, clicking on your altars, pick up a few corpses, and then simply just moving on to the next map. The beautiful thing about this is that the majority of the loot you're going to be able to get here is very easy to bulk sell, which means it's going to be very simple for you to extract the money out of this strategy while at the same time being unbelievably consistent. The beautiful thing about this as well is that since you're literally just doing tier 16 ALCHED maps, it doesn't mean they need anything special other than a decent build and ideally as much movement speed as possible. This is going to be a strategy that doesn't benefit from any magic find whatsoever, but it's going to massively benefit from the faster you go. I was able to run all these maps at 2 minutes per map, and all of the loots and profits are going to be based off of that. And obviously, if you're going to go a little bit slower, a little bit faster, you're going to make more or less money. The point is that this strategy relies on no big drops at all to make all of its money. It's just good, consistent drops, which makes it an amazing farming strategy, especially if you're struggling to make money. So the first thing to go over in this strategy is going to be the passive tree that we want for it. Now, this tree is going to be very simple. There's just 3 things we want to pick up on the tree: Heist, all the Necropolis nodes, and shrines. First, let's talk about the Necropolis nodes themselves. On the left, we're going to be picking ourselves increased haunted modifier effect, which is going to make it so the modifiers are harder. That means we get more Allflames and more corpses. We're then going to pair this up with increased Allflame chance at the top left. And then on the right side, we're going to be getting ourselves increased chance for the monsters to drop corpses. All these points in the bottom right give us increased chance for unresolved anguish, meaning they have a higher chance to drop corpses. And in the top right, we're going to be getting ourselves more specific corpses through condensed souls and decisive souls. You don't want real souls because unique item corpses aren't really worth that much money right now. It simply dilutes the pool for other good corpses. To add on to this, we then want to pick up ourselves shrines. We're going to be getting ourselves supplication as well as drawn to power and synchronism. The reason we want shrines specifically in this strategy is because shrines spawn monsters that are naturally found within your maps. These monsters that naturally spawn within your maps are going to be the ones that have the haunted modifiers applied onto them, and because the shrines just make a copy of them, we effectively double the total number of natural spawning monsters in the map, giving us double the chances for all flames and from corpses from all these monsters. Not only that, but shrines are just amazing in general as a mapping tool because they'll make you tankier and faster, meaning you get to do these maps faster, which just overall multiplies the amount of money you're getting. Then we want to pair this up with Heist. Heist is just an amazing strategy for any sort of mapping strat that wants to do the maps super quickly. All you have to do for Heist is simply click on the rogue stashes, pick them up, and then just sell the contracts off, meaning they're basically a 0-time strategy that make quite a lot of money on top of everything else. For Heist, we're going to be getting ourselves Secret Stash for more Smuggler's Cash chances, Dutiful Soldier to spawn Huck in our maps, which is going to give us Onslaught and more damage, meaning we just get to do all of our maps faster, Finer Arts to get more Deception contracts, which are the only contracts worth anything, and then no Honor Among Thieves and Chasing a Joint. Chasing a Joint is amazing because it effectively reads as a 1% chance to drop a fully revealed blueprint, and fully revealed blueprints are just worth about a divine each. To finish off the strategy with the rest of our points, we then want to pick up the 3 shapings between mountains, world, and skies, which is going to give us a lot more map sustain. And when added along with singular focus, with all of your favorite maps set to Mausoleum, you'll more than over sustain in the strategy, meaning you'll never have to worry about buying any maps or worry about any of your map sustain. The last few points are then going to be put into Searing Exarch Influence along with all the points at the top because these now give you increased influence pack size. And you can do Eater Worlds if you really want to, but Searing Exarch is just going to be substantially more currency. The final few points, which are the points you could drop if you don't have all of your passive points, is just going to be into Scarab chance. We're going to get Remarkable Relics, which would be the first thing to drop if you don't have all of your points. We're then going to pick up Skittering Swarms for more Scarabs, and then finally Amplified Artifacts for even more Scarab chance off of rare monsters. With that out of the way, let's talk about the mapping setup and how to actually do these maps. So the first thing we should talk about is going to be which map do you actually want to run the strategy on. Now, ideally, you're going to either want to pick yourself Mausoleum or Jungle Valley. The reason we want to pick one of these 2 maps is because a boss doesn't technically exist in the map. That means all Exarch or Eater altars that you find throughout the map cannot give you any boss-specific modifiers, meaning you're going to get more loot as you get more minion modifiers, which are the ones that are worth all the money. Jungle Valley and Mausoleum also have very nice and easy to do layouts, and realistically they're within margin of error of each other, so just pick whichever one you prefer between the 2. In terms of the setup for the map itself, all you have to do is just scour it, then chisel it, ALCHED, and then roll it to make sure it doesn't have any sort of bad mods on it that you cannot do for your build. You can very easily figure this out by coming over to PoE.re, which will be linked in the description below. And on this website, you can easily make yourself a regex by selecting all the mods that you do not want in your setup, and as long as it's less than 50 characters long, it will spit you a regex string, which you can then take, go into your game, find whatever tab you have your map stored in, and just paste in the keywords at the bottom. Everything that lights up means it's a map that's ready to go, that doesn't have any bad mods that you don't want on it, and everything that doesn't light up is a map that you need to reroll, which you can just simply do with a few chaos orbs. In terms of the setup on the map device itself, you're simply going to want to pick up Heist on every single one of these maps that you do, and then you're going to pick up your influence of your choice, and then for Scarabs, we're simply going to be using 3 domination Scarabs and 1 influencing Scarab of the Hordes. The reason we want to use the influencing Scarab of the Hordes is because we're scaling so much Searing Exarch pack size that this is actually going to give us a lot of money due to us getting even more Searing Exarch monsters, which is then just going to be more loot from the altars. The shrines, as I mentioned in the Allie section of the tree, are going to spawn natural monsters from the map itself, meaning that they're going to also have the haunted modifiers on them, which effectively doubles the amount of Allflames and corpses you get from each map. Not only that, but shrines make you be able to do the map faster due to them giving you buffs, and they're very cheap, making the cost to run each of these maps very, very low. The other thing that we need to talk about, and it's going to be very important, is the Lantern of Arimor itself. Now, there's going to be a little bit of setup that you want to do here at the start of every map. As you can see here, some of these modifiers are in yellow. These yellow ones are meant to be good things. Well, we don't care about these. We're just put them basically at the bottom every single time. What we care about here are the bad modifiers, because these modifiers, as you can see, give you an increased chance to give you additional corpses and Allflame members. In the case of these 2 modifiers at the top, it's 144% chance each, and then this modifier here is 140 and this one's 192. Now, the monsters on the left here are going to be organized in terms of density throughout the map. That means the monsters at the top are going to be the most common monsters you'll see within the map that you're going to do, and the ones at the bottom are going to be the least common monsters you're going to see. This means that all we need to do is simply take all of the modifiers that have the highest amount of corpse and Allflame chance on them and put them on the monsters at the top, as these are going to be the most dense throughout the map, meaning we get the best chance at more corpse and Allflames. So in this case, we would simply just put the 240 on the topmost one, the 192 on the second most one. In this case, we would actually want to skip this one because it has 50% less pack size. As we can see on the left, that means it's going to be 4 to 10 monsters with normal density. And if we look at this one, this is 8 to 19 with normal density, meaning it'd be best to put a 144 here. And then since this is also 10 to 19 with normal density, we would then put this here as well. It doesn't matter where the quote-unquote good modifiers go, you can put these wherever you want. And if, for example, you end up finding yourself one that gives you chaos orbs or div orbs or something, you can't put this at the top and then use a Allflame of the frogs or rats to get yourself a little bit more out of it. But outside of that, you simply just want whatever has the most chance for corpses and Allflames to be on the densest monsters in the map. Once you've done that, you simply can just go and run your map. Now, running the map itself is going to be very simplistic. Just walk through, click on all the shrines to power yourself up, click on all the altars as you see them to get more loot, click on all of the smuggler stashes to get yourself loot from the smuggler stashes, and then just simply pick up corpses. What I want to talk about here very quickly is going to be the contracts that you want to pick up off the ground. Now, the only contracts that are going to be worth selling are going to specifically be deception contracts. Thaumaturgy, demolition, lockpicking, perception, and all the other ones are literally never going to sell and just simply rot in your stash. What I personally do is take the additional half a second to second to look at every contract, and if I see it say deception at the top, I pick it up. On top of this, you're also going to sometimes get blueprints from opening up the caches, and you want to simply pick up every single blueprint as they're all worth the same amount of money, and you do not want to skip out on any of them. What I might want to add here is that you might want to go out and buy yourself a Thieves Trinket that has specifically the Smuggler's Cache, have a 10% chance to duplicate contain broke markers roll on it, as it's just going to give you more free money. I'll put a link for this in the description below, and simply just buy yourself the highest roll they can afford. These are really easy to resell back, and they literally will just pay for themselves in 20-30 maps at most. Now, what we should talk about next is going to be the corpses that you want to pick up. On screen here, I have a graphic that I made to showcase you every single corpse that you want to pick up. I cannot stress to you how important it is to just completely ignore every single corpse that isn't one of the corpses listed here. I know this is a pretty big list of corpses, but what I'm hoping for you to do is to take this picture, which will be linked in the description below, maybe put on your second monitor, and for your first few maps, as you're doing the strategy, compare the corpses that you see on the ground to the corpses on the picture, just to learn which ones are worth to pick up and which ones aren't. For me, I got the hang of it after about 20 maps or so, and afterwards, I basically just knew exactly what I was doing with the corpses the whole way through. Hopefully, this cheat sheet makes it a lot easier for you to learn what is worth picking up and what isn't, and I would say the cheat sheet is pretty much self-explanatory. There's a few scarcer that are worth picking up. There's a lot of the meta mod options that are worth picking up, typically the ones that deal with giving you additional copies of things or making things stronger. And then there's a few ones that give you more that are worth picking up as well. And I really implore you to not pick up anything that isn't on this list, as it will literally rot in your stash and it pretty much will never sell, as they aren't really required in most of the current meta crafts. And now let's talk about what everyone is actually curious about. What does the profitability of this look like? So for this video, I did a sample size of 140 of these maps, and this is all the loots that I end up getting. Now, as I mentioned at the start of this video, this strategy is unbelievably consistent, basically relying on no big drops to actually drop, and you're just basically farming consistent money the whole time. If we want to look at Wealthy Exile very quickly, we can see that I made a total of 78 div across 140 maps. If we were to look at the math for this, that means that I made somewhere around 1.5 div per map that I did. Every single time we completed 20 maps, we redid this math to see exactly how much money I was making. And after the first 20 or so maps, where it was a little bit all over the place, it very quickly got in line with 0.5 div per map, and it very consistently held this. And the nice thing about this being so consistent is that it pretty much doesn't matter if you have a really fast build or a really slow build, you're still on average making half a div per map. In my case, I was going at about 2 minutes per map, meaning I was able to do around 30 or so maps per hour, meaning my total profit per hour was 16.7 div. Now, the thing to mention about this is that this price is actually a lie. First off, rogue markers are straight up just ignored by Wealthy Exile. They just simply do not exist. This means that Wealthy Exile is completely ignoring the 183,000 rogue markers I end up farming during the strategy. These are currently going for around 50,000 per div, and these sell very, very quickly, meaning that Wealthy Exile is basically just ignoring 3.25 div worth of total profits. The other thing to mention here is that it's completely underpricing the contracts that we got. If we look at all the contracts, it's randomly pricing them at 3, 4, 5 chaos each. Well, the thing is here is that I only made sure to pick up nothing but deception contracts. And if we were to look at the price of deception contracts currently on trade, we can see that if we look at a bulk of 5 or more deception contracts, they are currently somewhere around 7 chaos or so. With this, that means we're basically losing another div or 2 from the total profit that we got here, just due to it not correctly knowing that these are all deception contracts specifically. Finally, the last little bit that I want to show you here is that corpses are also incorrectly priced. Currently, for example, the plus 50 modifier tier rating corpse is being valued 4 chaos each. Well, from my experience and from everyone in my Twitch chat's experience that's also been doing this strategy along with me, we can tell you that this is a flat out lie. If we look at the price of modifier corpses very quickly, we can see that modifier corpses in a bulk of 5 or more are currently going for about 10 chaos each, and they will literally instantaneously sell this price because this is the most utilized corpse in all corpse crafts. Another good example of this is increased effect of Grave Rose is currently priced at 12 chaos each, when realistically this is closer to about 20 chaos or so. Overall, basically that means that instead of us making 9.1 div in corpses, it's probably closer to around 13 or 14 div or so. But just for the sake of semantics and not having to go through and say, oh, this is worth a little bit more, oh, this is worth a little bit less, we're just going to use the Wealthy Exile price, but I just want you to know that this is actually lowballing the total profitability of this strategy. Now, what you might be asking yourself is, Allie, that's great that you're making half a div per map, but what is your expense per map? Well, the thing about this is it's very, very, very cheap to actually do this strategy. You're paying 5 chaos per map that you do and putting Heist on every single map, as well as you utilizing 3 domination scarabs and 1 influencing scarab of the hordes. Influencing scarab of the hordes is currently basically 1 chaos each, and domination scarabs currently in div rates are about 1.5 chaos per. That means we're spending 4.5 chaos for the domination scarabs, 1 chaos for the influencing scarab of the hordes, and another 5 chaos for Heist. In total, that means we're spending 10.5 chaos per map, which if we were to look at it at the rate of 30 maps per hour, that means we're spending 315 chaos per hour to do the strategy. At a rate of 150 chaos per div, that means we're spending 2.1 div in expenses to do the strategy, meaning we're only making 14.5 div in total profit. Again, that's actually a little bit higher due to the prices of everything in Wealthy Exile being a little bit wrong, but for the sake of this, let's just say we're making 14.5 div. The final thing I want to talk about here is going to be the liquidity of everything that you're going to farm. I've had a few people ask me about this as I was farming it on stream. I just want to very quickly go over everything just to put everyone on the same page in terms of how you go about selling all this. First off, we have a lot of currency, which is very simple to sell. For example, all these Eldritch Embers and all these Vol Orbs, I would simply just take them, put them in my currency tab, and simply just price them at whatever currently is the div rate. For example, Vol Orbs are currently 300 to div, so I just price them at 300 to div and leave it be. Every time I get 300 Vol Orbs, I'll just sell them for a div profit. The same would go for the Embers, where I would just simply look at the current price of a div worth of whatever currency we're looking at, and just price it a little bit better than everyone else. Currently, it's about 190 to a div, so I'd price it 191, 192, just so I show up at the top, so my offer gets sold first. After that, we have all the Allflame members in here. Now, what you can do for the Allflame members is come into Wealthy Exile and look at the price of them. Some of them are going to be worth quite a lot of money, so you'd want to sell them individually. For example, meat sacks, shaper, manifested wealth, and so on and so forth. And a lot of them are going to just be worth 5 chaos each. Now, you could sell these at 5 chaos each, and they do actually sell, and you could potentially go to TFT and sell them there in bulk. Or what I recommend to do is just simply use them yourself for a little bit of additional loot. Typically, you're going to get around 5 chaos worth of value out of these in return, as these are going to give you more monsters in your maps, meaning you're getting more corpses. The next thing we should talk about is going to be all of the heist contracts, which are going to be very, very simple to sell as well. What you want to do is you first want to type 3 out of 3 in your stash tabs, wherever you're storing these contracts, and take out all of the fully revealed 3 out of 3 blueprints. These sell for quite a lot more than a normal blueprint because they're fully revealed. And then you want to do the same thing for 4 out of 4, and you really want to make sure you do not miss a single 4 out of 4, as 4 out of 4 blueprints are basically always worth around a div. Once you've done all of that, you simply just say blueprint in here and take out all other blueprints that are not fully revealed, and just go over to a stash tab, price it at whatever the current rate of bulk blueprints is. This is typically 8 to 9 chaos, and then somebody will simply come to you and buy all of them in bulk. In an earlier take of this video, as you can see, people were immediately starting to spam me for blueprints, meaning they sell very quickly. You would then go and do the same thing for deception contracts, where you just type in here deception, take out all of your deception contracts out of here, put them all into their own tab, and then just simply price the tab or the current price of deception contracts is. Finally, the last thing we should talk about in here is going to be the corpses themselves. Now, there's going to be a very, very simple way to go about selling these corpses. First off, just simply shove them into a quad tab. It doesn't matter what kind of corpse it is. As you're farming the strategy, just shove them all into a quad tab and just make sure that quad tab is public. What you then want to do is take one of each of the corpses that are actually going to be worth selling and put them into a separate tab. You then just want to make this tab public. And then all we need to do is simply just go through and quickly price every single one of these corpses at the proper price. For example, I priced my modifier coffins in here. And because this tab is public, and because all my other quad tabs are public, all other plus 50 modifier coffins in here are also immediately priced at the proper price if we were to look for my offer on bulk trade. Now, in terms of pricing these, it's going to be very simple. As a general rule of thumb, all you want to do is simply just price check it with Awaken Trade and double the price that shows you at the top. These prices are going to be a little bit off if you look in here, because these are people just simply trying to sell a single copy of these coffins or attempting to price fix. But on average, every single one of these coffins is worth somewhere around double the price as should be for whatever Awaken Trade shows you. In this case, for the modifier coffins, it says 5 chaos. So I'd want to do is simply just right click on it and then price it at 10 chaos. Now, what you don't want to do is simply just price it at 10 chaos like this. This is going to open you up to being able to be spammed for a single copy of this. Instead, you want to price it at a bigger bulk. So in my case, I'd price it at 20 chaos for 2 of them, which is still going to be 10 chaos each. But this means that people can only message me for bulks of 2 at a time. Then, if someone were to message me for modifier coffins specifically, I'd go over to whatever tab I have all my coffins stored in, type plus 50 in here to find specifically just the modifier coffins, take out a bunch of these based on however many they want to buy, sell to them, and just make sure I never sell this specific coffin to not have to ever reprice these later on. If some of these coffins aren't selling, that means your price is probably a little bit too high. What you can do, for example, is simply just come in here and just lower the prices a little bit. If these aren't selling at 17 to 2, I could just simply lower it to something like 15 to 2, and they should immediately start selling at that price. Selling these coffins is very simple, assuming you know how to bulk sell properly. And if you do this trick that I showed you here, you shouldn't really have any issues. With all that said, I think the strategy is one of the best strategies you can possibly do in the game right now, especially at a low level, given that this literally doesn't require anything special other than a build that can handle tier 16 maps. I've had a lot of fun doing this strategy myself, and a lot of people in my Twitch chat were also doing this strategy with me as I was trying it for the first time. People were saying that they're having a good time with it, and they were having a very easy time selling everything, and that they were just enjoying the simplicity of the strategy itself and how easy it was to buy all the supplies for it. It's very simple to just go and buy 10 div worth of Scarabs and basically be good to go and farm the strategy for 20-30 hours with no problems, just because you don't need to buy 10 different Scarabs. You just need to buy a bunch of one Scarab, a little bit of another, and then you're just self-sustaining all of your maps, meaning you have 0 issues with any mapping supplies. I personally really like the strategy and I had a fun time with it. If you have any questions about it, feel free to leave a comment in the comments below, and I'd be more than happy to help you as soon as I can. I also stream on Twitch every single day, so feel free to come by Twitch and ask me any of your questions you have there, or if you simply just want to come and hang out with all the cuties and be a part of my community, I'd be more than happy to see you there as well. With all that said, cuties, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you all in the next video.